Thank you for joining us today. I'm here with Mike Barker.
And I'm glad to be here myself with Corbin.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. We got a big day planned, a lot to talk about today, of course. Again, the subject we're going to talk about today was actually voted on by our attendees from last time. So all of those who voted, thank you very much. Really interesting topic as we've gone over some things and then talked about what we're going to talk about today. So a really interesting presentation today for you. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to share the live presentation. All that is appreciated. Now looking here at the comments, we've got people all over the place.
Very good.
Iowa, upstate New York, Michigan, New Jersey, Indiana, Canada.
Wow.
We got some over in Great Britain.
All right.
So thank you so much for joining us, especially those who are international. I know the time zone is a little bit different,
Sure.
And so a little bit more of a hassle for you as it gets later in the evening for you. But today we're here to talk about nutritionally caused hoof problems.
That's our goal today, it is, and we look forward to doing this particular presentation. In fact, we're going to point out certain issues that not only is seen in the foot of the horse, but actually anytime we have a nutritional deficiency or an excess of some nutrient, it's felt throughout the horse itself, and we're going to talk about that. But we're specifically going to concentrate on what it actually does to the foot of the horse itself. As we get into the presentation.
Absolutely. So, and before we get started, let's just do a few kind of housekeeping items. So we will have, of course, our live giveaways today. So if you're watching live, which is 2 o'clock Central Time on Friday, if you're watching live, we will be having the live giveaway. We've got some trivia questions.
We do. We have three easy questions.
Easy questions. If you listen carefully, Mike will give you the answer before he even asks the question. So pay attention, and then you can have a chance to win. If you answer it correctly, you'll be put into our random chooser, and one of those random correct answers will receive, of course, our Life Data Hoof Clay, the finish, Breeder's Formula, which is for our canine friends, and a Life Data T-shirt. Unfortunately, that is for the U.S. People watching in the U.S. only due to some international giveaway laws. We're just unable to provide that to people outside the country. And again, when we do these contests, every now and then we have people who try to take advantage of that. If you ever receive a message of someone trying to pretend to be us, or someone asking for a credit card, or anything along those lines, don't click on anything and just delete it, because it's not us. And of course, on top of the live giveaway, we've got our grand prize giveaway. That link to enter that is scrolling down at the bottom. Again, you can enter that at any time as well. And again, that is for U.S. residents only. We'll be providing the secret keyword along with talking about what we're going to be giving away a little bit later on into the presentation. Then Mike, are you going to be traveling anywhere or anything upcoming up?
Yes, in fact, I'm scheduled to get on a plane Tuesday morning, head to Saratoga Springs, New York. The NAEP is having their annual meeting there in Saratoga, which is going to involve a good group of veterinarians and farriers as well. So we look forward to being there and talking and speaking with those individuals. Sure.
Absolutely. And I know me and you both are going to be over at Equine Affair in November.
West Springfield, Massachusetts. That's during the month of November. 4-day event. Absolutely. Big event. If you've never been to Equine Affair in West Springfield, Massachusetts, make plans to be there.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite ones that we go to.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
Plenty to see, plenty to do, plenty of shopping, plenty of educational events, and if you love horses, that'll be right down your alley as well.
Absolutely. So, yeah. And of course, if you're ever at an event that one of us are at, make sure to stop by our table, and we'll make sure that that you leave not empty-handed.
That's right. Let us know you watch us on Facebook, and we'll have a nice present for you.
Absolutely.
For making that statement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know that everybody is waiting patiently for us to get started. So, Mike, I know that you know, we've been doing these live events for about 2 years now. And of course, we've talked about numerous different things. We all know, of course, if you've paid attention to our live events and you've attended them before, then you've heard us talk about the many factors that affect hoof quality. I mean, we've got, of course, nutrition, which we're going to talk about today.
Right.
We have the environment. We have genetics. So different, you know, mechanics and just general maintenance and hygiene. So there's a lot of different things that can affect that hoof. But nutrition tends to be the one that's a little bit less understood. It can be often overlooked.
Right.
And so I know one of those problems comes with nutrition and the imbalance of it.
That's right.
So what can you tell us about a nutritional imbalance? What is that?
Sure. In fact, when we talk about a nutritional imbalance, number one, or an unbalanced diet, if we want to refer to it as that, that means that we have either a deficiency of a nutrient that a horse needs on a daily basis, or we have too much, an excess, one of the two. And we're going to talk about the different areas here in just a few minutes that we have to maintain balance. And if we get out of balance in either one of these 5 areas here, it becomes an unbalanced diet at that point in time. And of course, as we've already mentioned early, not only is this going to affect the hoof capsule itself, but it's going to affect the entire horse itself.
Absolutely.
That we can actually visually see, all right?
Absolutely.
And we might ask, well, what is a nutritional imbalance? And I think we've kind of answered that in a roundabout way. But as we continue further, if Mr. Will would pull up slide number 1 for me, then you're going to see some of Mr. Corbin's artwork here. Very good. And we're going to see this horse that's loaded down with these different nutrients, whether that's a mineral, whether that's a vitamin, an amino acid, or whatever it may be. And I'm afraid today that one of our problems when it comes to feeding a balanced diet to a horse is that we're overdoing it. We're providing too much. We have excesses. And as you see this particular horse here, it's loaded down with all of these different nutrients. And at some point, this can actually create a toxicity problem, which is going to work against hoof quality itself. And as we get into this a little bit further, when we talk about this imbalance, this unbalanced diet here, then it's going to come about basically in about 4 different ways. As we mentioned, it can come from a deficiency, where we don't have enough of something. It can come about from over-supplementation that we just seen in the prior slide, okay? It can actually come about where we have an excess, where it actually creates a toxic or a toxicity problem within the horse, which directly affects the foot quality as well. Or we can have a balance problem between nutrients within the diet itself. And it's critical that we maintain balance. In fact, we'll point out here in just a few minutes that we have certain companions that work together, but they have to be in the right proportion. They have to be in the right ratio to each other for the horse to actually absorb and utilize those specific nutrients. Now, what's the purpose of these nutrients that we're providing the horse? Well, it's for the overall well-being of the horse. It's for the health of the horse. And one of the most important things that it does, it's going to provide the necessary energy for the horse to perform. It's going to help maintain and replenish one of the largest glandular organs in the horse, and that's dermal tissue or connective tissue. And especially if we're feeding a balanced diet, and if that horse is still in need of some additional nutrition to help improve hoof quality, and we incorporate a hoof supplement at that point in time, then that hoof supplement is going to specifically target the connective and dermal tissue itself. And we also know that there are certain identified mineral, vitamins, and amino acids that aid in the horse growing dermal or connective tissue. And the question that we might pose is, well, how much does a horse need on a daily basis? That's very important, because what we want to do is we want to feed the daily requirement of that particular nutrient itself.
Absolutely.
Now, the second question is, and we just pointed this out here, do certain mineral, vitamins, and even amino acids need companions? And the answer to that is yes. They do need companions to get utilized or to be absorbed by the horse itself. But the most important thing that we need to remember here is that they've got to be in the right ratio and the right proportion to each other for the horse to utilize.
Absolutely.
And use that particular nutrient as to whatever it might be.
Absolutely. I always kind of talk to people about it's almost like baking a cake. You know, you put too much flour in, you put too many eggs in, or not enough, you don't end up with that perfect cake.
That's right. It's not right. Okay? At all. Okay? So, if we have an imbalanced diet, or we might ask, well, how does this affect the horse? Okay? So let's get into that as well. All right? What does it do if we have an imbalanced diet? Well, number one, from a visual standpoint, just looking at the horse, a lot of times this horse is going to have that dull, very coarse hair coat itself. There's no shine to it whatsoever. All right. A lot of times that horse may lack muscle tone. All right. And from a performance standpoint, that horse may not have enough energy to perform like we would want the horse to do or whatever. And then the other aspect that's going to be affected in that horse is what's supporting that horse, and that is the foot of the horse, the hoof of that horse. And where we have this imbalance in certain nutrients, then we're going to end up with either slow hoof growth, no hoof growth, and then we end up with that poor quality foot. We end up with thin hoof walls. We end up with thin soles. And then that in turn sets us up for your splitting, your cracking. And if that horse is being shod, a lot of times it's very difficult for that horse to maintain that shoe between the resets in. And then we incorporate another factor that comes into play, this poor quality foot. It's less resistance to excess water, number one. It's also less resistance to a bacterial or a microbial invasion. And so a lot of times we'll end up with these secondary issues such as thrush, white line, abscessing, simply because of an imbalance and not providing that horse with a balanced diet to begin with.
Exactly.
Okay?
We talk about the many factors that affect hoof quality. And when you have that poor imbalance of nutrients, those other factors can also then come into play.
Sure.
And now you have two sets of problems aiming at the.
That's right. Sure. And when we talk about this unbalanced, this inadequate diet, it comes about either from a deficiency or an excess in these 5 different areas here. This includes protein, it includes energy or calories, if we want to refer to that way. It includes vitamins, it includes your amino acids, and it includes your minerals. So we've got to maintain balance in those 5 specific areas there. And so what I'm going to do here in the next few minutes, I'm going to take these 5 different areas and I'm going to try to point out and show you when we have an imbalance in either of the 5, what it's going to do to the hoof capsule and to the horse itself. So balance involves all 5. It involves maintaining the balance in each individual area in those 5 there itself. All right, let's get started. But you know what, Corbin? Let's
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead and ask question number one
All right,
before
you want
we
to do
get
trivia
into.
question number one?
Yeah,
All
let's
right,
go ahead and
grab-
do that.
Grab my
Okay.
questions down here. Okay, so again, this is going to be our first trivia question for the day. You'll have 2 minutes to answer it, and we're going to pick one of those who got it correct, and that person will randomly win our first prize pack, which is the t-shirt, the hoof clay, the finish, and the breeder's formula. Again, this is for U.S. only. And then while we're giving you time to answer this question, we've got some questions that we pulled from Facebook to ask Mike.
Sure.
Okay, so question number one. An imbalanced diet consists of either a blank or a blank of a nutrient needed daily by the horse. So technically looking for two answers here. An imbalanced diet consists of either a blank or a blank of a nutrient needed daily by the horse. So you have 2 minutes. Good luck. And in the meantime, Mike, you ready for some questions?
I'm ready for a question, Corbin.
Okay. Can proper nutritional supplementation help reduce inflammation in the hoof caused by lush grass in horses who are sensitive to the grass but negative to metabolic diseases?
Okay. That particular question, I think we've got 3 or 4 aspects to entertain there in itself. From this question, I gather number one, we have inflammation, so that tells me that the horse is probably having a bout of laminitis to have inflammation in itself. Now, we have a culprit there that's causing the inflammation itself, and it's pointed out in this green, lush grass. That's not a friend to this particular horse with the inflammation itself, okay? And what's in the grass that's creating this particular problem here, even though the horse doesn't have a metabolic issue, is the fructans or the sugar that's in the grass. So what we need to do, number one, to avoid this future situation is to monitor the grazing, how much grass the horse is actually consuming. And another thing that we can do too is we can monitor the time of day that we allow the horse to be on this green lush grass itself. And we know that the early morning hours, the sugar level is going to be at its lowest at that point in time, and that's one of the better times to allow this particular horse to graze itself. Now, with the inflammation, assuming that we've got a laminitic issue there, we do have a couple of products that could be fed to the horse itself. One is our Hoof supplement, Ferris formula, and then we have another product that can be fed along with that, specifically for the laminitic side, and that's our lamina formula. And the lamina formula is going to, yes, help reduce the inflammation, help reduce the pain there that horse is experiencing at this point in time.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's do one more question real quick. Let's see. Does the type of forage affect hoof growth and health? Example, fescue versus Bermuda or orchard grass.
It is to some extent, yes. But the 3 grasses that you're mentioning, fescue, orchard grass, and Bermuda is going to have a little more protein in it versus the other 2. I think orchard grass is going to have a little more protein than fescue itself. But if we're only providing forage to that individual horse to ensure that the daily nutrient requirement is being met, then it would be good for us to take a look at a forage balancer, in which that's going to provide the nutrition or the nutrients that's missing in those particular forages that horse is consuming then.
Absolutely. All right. I believe we have a winner. Let me give you guys the answer to this quick. Stuck it back here. Well, an imbalanced diet consists of either an excess or a deficiency of a nutrient needed daily by a horse. So we do have a winner. The winner is Wanda Manley. Wanda, congratulations. You can email us at cservice@lifedatalabs.com. That email address is scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Again, that is cservice@lifedatalabs.com. And the subject line, put live giveaway winner, and we will need your t-shirt size as well as your shipping address.
And we'll be glad to get that right out to you.
Absolutely. So congratulations to you, Wando. Of course, we've got 2 more of the live giveaways, and then of course our grand prize giveaway that's still scrolling down at the bottom. Again, these contests are for the U.S. only, so we apologize to our international people here today. Well, let's roll back into the presentation.
Okay. As we mentioned earlier, we got to maintain balance in protein, energy, vitamins, amino acids, and minerals to achieve this balanced diet. So let's take each one of those individually now and consider them.
Okay.
If we have a protein imbalance, and I might ask you, the audience, what is protein? What provides the protein to the horse itself? And actually that's derived from the amino acids that horse is consuming from the feed or whatever, okay? So protein basically is the same thing as amino acids. And when we think about protein, we might ask, well, how much protein should a horse receive on a daily basis? And that's going to be determined by many things. Number one, the age of the horse, the discipline of the horse. Number two, but anywhere in the neighborhood of about a 10 to 14% ration, okay, as far as protein itself. If we're talking about a younger horse, a growing horse, then that horse is going to need more protein. If we're talking about a seasoned horse or whatever, then we're going to be closer to that 10% range there. But anywhere 10 to 14%. Okay. If that horse is not receiving enough protein, that can come about from a couple of ways. Number one, the horse is simply not consuming enough, or not from an intake standpoint of high quality protein to provide enough protein to maintain the horse itself. Or we could actually have an amino acid that could be missing in the diet of the horse that's affecting all the other essential amino acids that horse needs, okay? And of course, if we have a deficiency, then a lot of times from a visual standpoint, we're going to end up with that poor quality hair coat, all right? We're going to end up with some slow hoof growth or no hoof growth. We can end up with some weight loss, and of course, from a protein standpoint, it's going to affect muscle tone tremendously, okay?
Absolutely.
So that's a protein imbalance in itself. Pretty easy to maintain, to correct, if that is the situation in itself, okay? Now, the next one that we have mentioned was energy. And energy is the same thing as calories. And yes, we can have an imbalance in energy, and we're going to show you some examples of what's going to happen when that actually takes place. Of course, calories and energy will directly affect body condition score. Okay, and of course we could talk several minutes on body condition score if we wanted to do that, but what we're shooting for is somewhere in the neighborhood of at least a 5 to 6.
Absolutely.
In that range, and we want to maintain that now. Okay, now if we have a young growing horse, an excess can set us up for some orthopedic disease in the skeletal system of the horse itself. If we have excess energy, then a lot of those horses are going to become overweight. That makes them subject to our metabolic issues such as insulin resistance. Those horses become likely candidates for laminitis, which is going to work directly on the foot of the horse. Of course, another thing that can come about too, especially if we have an extremely obese horse, is a colic problem. And that simply comes about where the small intestine is literally strangled by this preundulated mesenteric lipomas or whatever. It's just fat that will consume the intestine and it'll choke it off, and we have a blockage there. So too little is a problem when it comes to calories, and too much is a problem as well.
Absolutely.
Now, slide number 2, Will, please, sir. And as we look at slide number 2, we're going to see an extremely emaciated horse there.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we're looking at a skeleton that's covered by skin. And of course, this came about from an energy or a calorie imbalance. It was a lack of calories.
Mm-hmm.
The horse has been nutritionally starved, as you can see there. And a lot of these horses are going to end up at a rescue farm or a place. And of course, it's a slow, drawn-out process from a nutritional standpoint in actually turning that horse back around and getting it back to where it needs to be. Of course, a lot of these horses, if they've been neglected, may have some disease issues, some parasite issues. So the first things that we need to do is to address those issues first from a health standpoint, and then we're going to gradually provide calories and the nutrients at that horse to slowly put the necessary weight back on the animal itself then. And Will, if you'll go to slide number 3, we have, right the opposite here. We have an extremely obese horse here. We have that thick crested neck here. And you can almost bet that this horse, if he doesn't have metabolic issues, it's just right around the corner. So that's what happens when we have an imbalance of energy, the extremes there. So let's shoot for a body condition score of at least a 5 to 6 with our horses. The next area of those 5 is our amino acids, which are highly critical. They're providing the protein for the horse, plus they provide other additional benefits to the horse as well. Okay. As an example, one of the essential amino acids that's necessary for hoof quality, especially for hoof wall integrity, is methionine. Methionine is going to be found in a lot of our feeds. It's going to be found in just about any and every hoof supplement that's on the market today as well. It's needed by the horse, but in excess, methionine can actually become toxic to the horse itself and actually create some hoof issues. The likely candidate for a methionine toxicity problem is that competition horse that's being provided this high quality diet that's on a multitude of different supplements, and from all that combination there, we're getting too much methionine in the diet, and what we end up is a degeneration of that hoof horn itself spreading outward, especially in the white line area itself. And as we take a look at the situation and explore the situation just a little further, the horse is actually showing signs of white line disease. And we automatically think, since we got some wall separation there, that it's coming from a microbial invasion. But in reality, it was created from the excess methionine itself. And it actually, in some of the research that's being done with this particular problem, when they took hoof clippings and scanned those under an electron microscope, there was little to no microbial invasion there, and it was strictly from a nutrient excess methionine. And this excess methionine actually creates a depletion of iron, copper, and zinc And all those are extremely important for hoof quality as well when we consider some other minerals there.
Okay.
And we're ready for question number 2.
All right.
So this one came up pretty quick.
So you're ready to give away some
Let's
free
give away
products,
something
huh?
else right quick.
Yep,
Yes.
I saw someone ask about how they get T-shirts. Well, being one of the
You're going to
lucky
have an
winners here.
opportunity right
That's
now.
right. That's right. Again, this is for the contest for the U.S. only due to those international giveaway laws. You'll have 2 minutes to answer this question. Out of all the correct answers, we're going to randomly choose someone who's going to win this little prize pack over here. All right. So question number 2. What part of the horse's diet has the greatest influence on body condition score? What part of the horse's diet has the greatest influence on body condition score? You have 2 minutes. And then in the meantime, we've got questions from Mike.
All right.
And I've seen a couple questions pop up as we've gone through the presentation. Stick with us, and towards the end of the presentation, we will take a look at those and answer some of those. One of the reasons why we don't answer them now is because we might answer them coming up. So just stick with us and we'll answer some of those. We did have one that I'll go ahead and bring up, Mike, and if you were planning on talking about it more, then that's
Sure.
fine. But,
Okay.
we did have questions about how do you find out if your horse has these imbalances? You know, what are some different tests or different things that the horse owner can do to make sure that their diet is balanced and that their horse doesn't have a nutrient deficiency?
Visual observation number 1. If we're having a persistent hoof issue, then that sends up red flags number 2 in itself, okay? Another thing that we can do, and we provide this service here at Life Data Labs, if you have a question about what you're feeding and whether or not what you're feeding is meeting the nutritional needs of your horse, if you will contact us and provide us everything that you're providing your horse, our nutritionalist, Dr. Scott Grafley, he'll be glad to take a look at that, analyze that for you, and tell you whether or not you're meeting the nutritional requirements there. And we also have a research program as well where we're looking for certain candidates, and if that horse happens to fit one of those there, and you're a candidate for the program, then we can actually do a blood analysis to determine exactly what might be deficient or what the excesses might be as well. So that's some of the ways there.
Absolutely. And what about like hay testing?
Oh, absolutely. And if you're feeding hay, please have your hay tested by all means, yes. And you'll know firsthand exactly what you're feeding. And that would be some valuable information for Dr. Scott to know as well.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see. There's another question here. How much salt do horses need to maintain hoof health?
That's a good question. And salt is needed on a daily basis. The typical average horse needs about 10 grams, which would be the equivalent of about 2 level tablespoons of salt per day, unless that horse is competing and sweating, and then that needs to be increased then, yes. Absolutely. But salt should be provided basically free choice on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
But the amount needed is basically 10 grams per day.
Okay. All right. Let's do one more, and then I'll announce the winner. I'm going to combine a few questions on this one. But what does a horse owner need to do if too much has been taken off the hoof during a farrier visit, whether through the hoof wall it may have been rasped wrong or too much sole was taken off? What are some steps that a horse owner can take to help recover from that?
I'd like to say that this is an overnight fix, but when you take off too much of a foot, the only way for the horse to replace that foot is for it to regrow what was taken off. And especially if too much of the sole was removed and that horse becomes a little ouchy on the hard surface, you're just going to have to be patient and allow that horse to regrow that. Of course, the incorporation of a hoof supplement is going to help with that process, but that's not an overnight fix either by any means.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, that's a good point.
And of course, if your horse is ouchy, and if your horse is barefoot, Then there are many companies that make different types of boots that can be used for the horse to keep the horse comfortable, whatever.
Absolutely. And that was a good point that you made too. That the hoof doesn't heal; it has to grow.
That's right.
So any type of those problems, whether it be an abscess or trimming too short or damage caused from thrush or white line disease, it's got to be grown out. It won't heal.
That's true.
So, okay. So, answer the question here and announce the winner. What part of the horse's diet has the greatest influence on body condition score? And the answer was calories or energy. Let's see. Our winner is Susan Helling. So Susan Helling, congratulations. Email us, cservice@lifedatalabs.com. In the subject line, put live giveaway winner. And you will be winning the t-shirt, hoof clay, finish, and the breeder's formula. So we'll need your t-shirt size and your shipping address. So congratulations. We still have one more trivia question, plus our grand prize giveaway. That link is still coming down here at the bottom, scrolling. You can enter that at any point in time. But in this presentation, we will give out a secret keyword, which will double your chances to win. So you would definitely want to make sure to hang on to get that last question.
Are we ready to move on, Corbin?
Absolutely. We talking a little more about some amino acids, or we're going to move on to?
We're going to move on to vitamins.
Vitamins.
Yes,
all right.
We're going to talk about vitamins. And when we talk about vitamins, we can break those down into two different categories there. We have those that are going to be fat soluble, and we're going to have those that are going to be water soluble. So those that are fat soluble that is needed by the horse would be vitamin A, D, E, and K. So being fat soluble, that means that the horse can store those. So that means that we need to be very careful and that we don't overdo that where that builds up to a point that becomes toxic. Okay? The other ones, which are a lot of your B vitamins and vitamin C, are water soluble. So if we overdo that there, the horse has the ability to eliminate those through the urine or whatever, okay? We can also break these vitamins down by the source itself. If we take a look at vitamin C, D, and niacin, which is a B vitamin, these are actually manufactured by the horse's body from other organic compounds that the horse is consuming or ingesting itself. And then our other B vitamins and vitamin K, the horse can actually produce through the microbial organisms that are going to be found living in the cecum and the large intestine. And then vitamin A and E, we've got to supply to the horse itself.
Absolutely.
Okay? Vitamin A, the horse through green forage can take the carotene that's in the grass and can then convert that to vitamin A at that point in time. True with vitamin E as well. Okay? Now let's talk about some specific vitamins. And one in particular is going to be vitamin A. And our problem, the clinical signs of a vitamin A issue, whether that is a deficiency or whether that is an excess of vitamin A, are going to be the same when we take a look at the foot of the horse, okay? And if we have either one, whether that's an excess or a deficiency, this outer hoof wall is going to it wants to flake off, it wants to chip off, especially at the end of the hoof wall itself. And then if we take a close look, we're going to see what we think is some hair-like projections that's growing out from the end of the hoof wall between that sole and hoof wall junction itself. And if we'll go to slide number 4, Will, this is a classic example created from an excess of vitamin A, where it, in my opinion, it looks like our hoof wall is extremely thin. We can see that it's chipping, it's cracking, it's breaking away. and we can see the hair-like projections there. So, and we might ask, well, how much vitamin A does the typical average horse need on a daily basis? As a general rule, we do not want to exceed, say, more than 30,000 units per day. Of course, there are exceptions to that, yes. If we're talking about a brood mare, a lactating mare, then that's going to change or whatever to some extent, all right? Now, with a vitamin A deficiency is extremely hard to produce. We're going to have a horse that is being dry lotted. There is no grazing available to the horse, and there is little to no keratin in the hay that's being provided the horse, and whatever feed that horse is being provided has little to no vitamin A in it as well. Now, vitamin A, being fat soluble, is actually stored in the body of the horse, and if I'm not mistaken, if everything is normal, a horse can have anywhere from 5 to 6 months in reserve of for vitamin A itself. Okay? All right, we're ready to talk about minerals now. Minerals are highly important for the horse. There are multiple uses of these minerals that the horse is consuming, and we can break our minerals down into micro minerals, which we'll refer to as trace minerals, or macro minerals, either way, okay? And one of the first ones that I'd like to spend just a few minutes on, and that is selenium. We know that there are certain regions or areas of the U.S. that's going to be selenium deficient as far as the soil itself. And in those areas there, most of your horses are going to be supplemented with selenium. Now, the problem is this: it's very easy to create a toxicity problem with an excess of selenium. Our goal would be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 3, no more than 5 milligrams of selenium on a daily basis for the horse itself. So if we're in that area that's selenium deficient, a lot of those areas are also going to be deficient in copper. And copper is another one that helps buffer an excess of selenium if we actually get too much in the diet. So there's very little margin of area of when it comes to the addition of selenium to the diet of the horse. And we always want to try to calculate how much selenium that horse is receiving on a daily basis itself. And let's go ahead and go all the way to slide number 5, Mr. Will. And in slide number 5, you're going to see a selenium problem. Too much selenium in the diet of the horse. And you can see here we have a very nasty foot itself.
Yeah.
And what this problem is going to do, of course, the hoof wall has been severely compromised. We can see that. We see the ridges in the hoof wall itself. We have a very crusty coronary band that the horse is having to deal with. In fact, if this problem persists, then we can end up with lameness. Of course, this hoof capsule is very much subject to an invasion of microbes, and that sets us up for a multitude of bacterial issues in itself. And of course, what has happened here is this excess selenium has actually replaced the sulfur that's needed in the hoof capsule itself, which helps to hold together the hoof capsule. And if you have any horses yourself that's being hot shod, and you know when the farrier applies this hot shoe and we see the smoke and we smell, that smell that we're seeing or smelling is actually the sulfur that's within the hoof capsule itself. So, selenium toxicity. Be very mindful of too much in the diet itself. Another mineral that's very critical to hoof quality is zinc. Now, our problem is with a zinc deficiency. And this one is somewhat odd. Where we have a zinc deficiency, we end up with some very rapid hoof growth. Growth to the point where it needs to be trimmed every 10 to 14 days, that much growth. But the problem with this growth is that it's very poor quality. It wants to break, it wants to chip. The hoof wall is actually compromised itself. And of course, these particular horses that actually have the zinc deficiency are very much susceptible to a canker problem as well. So there's some connection there with zinc and the canker problem. Another mineral that we want to talk about this afternoon is calcium. Calcium is somewhat like sulfur, but calcium we can refer to in simple terms is the glue that helps hold that hoof capsule together. So if we lose the glue, then we lose the integrity of the hoof wall at that point in time, okay? Now, Mr. Will, if you'll bring up slide number 6 for me, we have a typical example of a foot that has a calcium deficiency there. And as we take a look at this slide, we can see the collapsed heels, we can see the crumbling hoof wall or horn around the nail heads there. And this problem came about simply because there was too much bran that was being fed to this particular horse. Now, am I saying that it's wrong to feed bran to a horse? I'm not. But excess bran can be the problem. And the problem comes about with bran, and especially if we have a horse that has poor quality feet to begin with, then this bran contains excess phytates, which is simply phosphorus. And what we end up doing is we end up getting our calcium phosphorus ratio out of balance, and that's critical. And when we get too much phosphorus in the diet, that does not allow the calcium to be absorbed, and we lose the glue that's needed in the foot of the horse, and we end up with this particular foot here. So the typical average horse, we want to maintain at least a 1-to-1 calcium phosphorus ratio. Now, if we're talking about a broodmare, if we're talking about a young, foal, growing horse, then we're going to have more calcium in this ratio. In fact, we can go up to at least a 2-to-1, 2 parts calcium to 1 part phosphorus. Typical average horse, 1-to-1, okay? So, let's ask this question. What is the nutritional goal of the horse owner? What do you think it would be?
To balance.
That's right.
Balanced nutritional
diet. We want to provide a balanced diet to the horse, by all means, okay? Now, what do we do to achieve this balanced diet? Kind of as a review. Number 1, we need to know what the daily requirement for a nutrient is. Number 1. Number 2, we need to understand what an excess will do, how it affects the horse and the hoof of the horse as well. We also need to understand what a deficiency will do to the horse and to the hoof as well of a nutrient. We also need to take into consideration when we are developing our balanced diet, the age of the horse, the sex of the horse, body condition score of that horse, the discipline of that horse, and that will help us determine and come up with this balanced diet itself at that point in time.
You talk about looking at that individual horse. Every horse is different.
Right.
And each horse is probably going to have a different nutritional feeding program.
That's right. Absolutely, Corbin. Now, as a reminder, once again, the 5 components that we've got to keep balanced are protein, energy, vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. We keep those 5 balanced, then we actually end up with a balanced ration that we're providing that horse. Okay?
Absolutely.
And we're ready for our last and final question of the day.
All right. So question number 3. You're going to have 2 minutes to answer this. Again, this is for the U.S. only. You'll have 2 minutes. If you answer it correctly, you'll be put into a random drawing to win our last prize pack of the evening. We've got the Life Data t-shirt, the Finish, and the Clay, which again are wonderful topicals, non-caustic topicals. And then the Breeder's Formula, which is for our canine friends, which is going to help with that itchy coat, help some of the nervous behavior, and so on. But question number 3. The average horse should have a calcium phosphorus ratio of blank to blank.
Pretty easy.
30 seconds ago, he gave this one, so this one should not be a problem for y'all. The average horse should have a calcium phosphorus ratio of blank to blank. And while that is going on, we'll ask Mike some questions. We did have one here in the comments.
Okay.
With what will iron do to the hoof?
A toxicity problem with iron can be can create some health issues, which in turn can affect the foot of the horse itself. But excess iron, we need to be more concerned with the health problem itself. Okay.
Is it true white hoofs are not as good as solid as black hoofs? I hear all the time, and people I know steer away from buying white hooded horses.
Well, personally speaking, I think that's pretty much what I call an old wives' tale itself. There is no research that would prove that a dark foot or a white foot is superior or inferior to the other one in itself. I think it has a lot to do, number one, with the health of the horse, whether that horse is receiving a balanced diet, and whether that horse is receiving all the nutrients that it needs to maintain and grow this good, healthy dermal connective tissue, which involves the foot itself. Yep. I have a multitude of horses myself. I have some black-footed, brown-footed, and white-footed. In my particular case, the white-footed horse was the best out of the group. Okay? And a lot of that sometimes has to do with the breed of the horse as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
We know, there are certain breeds who have more difficult times.
That's true, right.
Which goes into the genetics, which we've mentioned before.
Yeah.
We have a quarter horse with a bad hoof that keeps cracking. We have tried everything. The farrier has been out several times and puts a staple and a patch. It seems to get better, but then it starts all over again. Any help would be appreciated.
Let's take a look at nutrition, number one. Okay, and as we have already stated, you're not going to heal that. And the only way that we can eliminate that crack is for the horse to grow that completely out. And let's take a look at nutrition. If we need to incorporate a hoof supplement to the diet, which is going to give that horse the needed nutrients to help improve hoof quality, to help thicken the hoof wall, then let's do that. And then the other thing that we need to be very mindful of is the environment. Where you have a crack, you have a direct opening for bacteria to invade or microbes to invade. So let's incorporate some type of an antimicrobial, whether that be hoof clay or whether that be farrier's finish, to help protect that as well. So,
And if you have that type of issue with a hoof crack or so on, and you're using that type of topical, always make sure it's a non-caustic topical. If you can't put it on your own skin, don't put it on the horse. You know, it can dry out the hoof. It can hurt healthy tissue, and so on. So always check the labels of the products you're using to make sure that they are non-caustic.
And one other thing that I'll inject as well, I don't know where that crack is at. If it's in the front of the hoof wall, or if it's a quarter crack. Let's make sure that when that foot is trimmed, that it's balanced correctly.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. One more, and then we'll answer the question. This one's easy.
Okay.
Can we repeat the 5 components of a balanced diet?
Sure. Protein, energy, vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. Those are the 5.
Absolutely.
Plus, that horse needs fresh, clean water. And of course, when we talk about minerals, we're talking about sodium chloride as well, which is salt, and we've talked about salt as well. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will the amount of salt that you're giving a horse change per season?
Yes, it will. It'll depend on the temperature, how hot it is, how humid it is, and how much the horse is competing. Yep.
Gotcha.
And we didn't talk about a salt deficiency. Of course, when we have a salt deficiency, then that is directly correlated to the amount of sweat a lot of times that a horse can produce. So if we're in a hot, arid climate somewhere and the horse is salt deficient, then the horse may not cool like it should properly then. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's answer this question here. The average horse should have a calcium phosphorus ratio of 1:1.
That's right.
And our winner is Sharon Hobart. Congratulations, Sharon. You can email us at cservice@lifedatalabs.com. The subject line, live giveaway winner. We'll need your t-shirt size and your shipping address. And again, you know, a lot of times when we do these contests, you have people who try to take advantage of that. So don't ever give anyone your credit card. If anyone privately messages you pretending to be Life Data, it's not us. And don't give them any of your personal information.
Okay.
All right, Mike.
Well, we're winding it down, Corbin.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike. I know, you know, here at Life Data, we do a lot of our own research.
We do.
You know, spanning back to Dr. Frank Gravely in the 70s when he started this whole company and everything. Can you talk about what we've done as a company with research and what our research has come forth?
Yeah. In fact, here at Life Data Labs, it was the goal, it was the mission of Dr. Frank Gravely to always be research-minded, number one. And that's how he started this particular company itself, through research, scientific research. In fact, the product that he was able to develop through this research is a product that's known worldwide, and that's Ferris formula, okay? But through this research, he actually spent many hours and many dollars in pulling blood samples from horses that had foot issues. And so through doing that, he was able to identify, number one, what was missing. Number two, how much of that nutrient that horse needed on a daily basis. And number three, determine the right proportion and ratio of these nutrients together to come up with this good, solid, sound hoof supplement that has helped thousands of horses around the world and continues to do so today.
But Ferris formula was the first hoof supplement on the market.
Right.
Kind of ushered in the idea of feeding the hoof.
Sure. And it is the number one hoof supplement by farriers in the U.S. through a survey that's been done by the American Farriers Journal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we continue that research today. In fact, his son, Dr. Scott Gravely, heads up the lab here. And through this continued research with specific health issues, the company has been able to develop some specialty products. A sweat formula, a formula for insulin resistance, the adrenal formula, which is for Cushing's, and then the lamina formula as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, I know that a lot of people have different opinions. There's, of course, other hoof supplements on the market. There's a lot of different ideas and concerns involving the health of the horse, and a lot of information. I know a lot of people who are on here today are fishing through trying to find the answers. What can you tell us? What do these horse owners need to look at when finding a hoof
Sure.
supplement?
And that's a very legitimate question in itself. In fact, if you're a first-time horse owner and you have that horse that has the hoof issue itself, keep in mind that there are many, many factors, number one, that creates a hoof issue, okay? Now, genetics is one. The health of the horse is another one, especially if that horse has a compromised immune system. A lack of exercise, believe it or not, but exercise is very good for the foot of the horse and helping grow foot and improving hoof quality. The age of the horse is another factor. In fact, as our horses mature and as they age and as they become seniors, then they're not able to absorb the nutrients like they did at a much younger age. And we have to step up our game in providing these extra additional nutrients to maintain and keep them as healthy and as providing the best quality foot that we can under that horse at that point in time. The environment, wet conditions, dry conditions, microbial invasions, bacteria, fungi. We've got to control that, okay? The mechanics, how the foot is being trimmed, how it's been balanced by our farrier is extremely important. Of course, we've been talking this past hour about nutrition. It's highly important as well. And there are many other factors that we could talk about as well that works against hoof quality. So if we only concentrate on nutrition and we let the others go, then sometimes we don't accomplish anything. In fact, the environment can do more harm even if our horse is on a hoof supplement if we don't control that. Those wet, dry, and the bacterial problems itself, okay? But if I was looking for a hoof supplement, of course, I would want one that was supported by research, okay? I would want one that has been university tested from that standpoint itself, and especially if that research has been published in a scientific journal. I'd want to make sure that that product contains quality ingredients from a reputable dealer as well. My preference would be a pelleted product. They seem to me more palatable than a powdered product itself. I'd want a product that has expiration dating on it so that I know what the shelf life is on that particular product. I'd want a product that's being subjected to independent lab analysis so that what's on the analysis is what's in the bag or the bucket itself. And I'd want that company to have some support staff there as well, a nutritionalist, a vet, somebody that you can talk to help you if you have a nutritional problem itself. So that's some of the things that I would look at if I was considering a hoof supplement. Okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, of course, with Farrier's formula, we talk about, the research that's gone behind it and everything. And Farrier's formula is the only hoof supplement with a white paper to it.
It is.
You want to talk to us about that a little bit?
Sure. In fact, after this product was put on the market a bunch of years ago, some, I guess, 40 plus years now, the University of Edinburgh done an independent study where they fed this product to a group of horses, compared that to determine exactly the effects, what it did to those horses. There was many positive results there, and then the results were actually published at that point in time in the veterinary record as well.
Absolutely.
So
that research is available. If you ever feel like trying Ferris formula, or if you're looking at a hoof supplement, you're interested in looking at research, that is available to read and to look at.
And I realize that there are many hoof supplements on the market today. Ferris formula was one of the first ones, okay? And anybody can take a look at the ingredients that's in the product there. They can go out and create their own if they want to do that. But the only thing that they cannot do and copy, and they don't know, is the proportion and ratio of these ingredients to each other. And that's essentially what makes Ferris formula work there.
Absolutely. It's all the research.
All the research that went into this product.
Comparing the blood samples and finding out what was causing these hoof issues. Now, I know that there is also some concern when feeding a separate hoof and joint supplement.
There is.
Can we talk about some of that toxicity problems that can happen there?
Yeah, in fact, one of the minerals that we mentioned earlier was sulfur. And of course, I realize how important a hoof supplement and a joint supplement are to a horse. Number one, we're protecting the foot, the dermal tissue, the connective tissue, and with a joint supplement, of course, we're focusing upon the joint of the horse itself. Now, any good hoof supplement is going to have methionine in it, like we mentioned. Any good joint supplement, most of them are going to have MSM, which is sulfur itself. If you're feeding Ferris formula, then there is sufficient sulfur in Ferris formula to begin with on a daily basis. If we incorporate a joint supplement that has the MSM or this type of sulfur in it, a lot of times we cross the line, we get too much sulfur into the diet of the horse, and that has adverse effects on hoof quality at that point in time. So one of the things that Life Data Labs has had to do to combat that problem is to release this product here, which is a combo. It has the double strength plus a joint in it, but it is balanced from the standpoint of sulfur itself. So it's going to help improve hoof quality. It's going to protect the joint of the horse in one feeding. And this bag will be a 60-day supply for that typical 1,000-pound horse then.
I know the joint right now is only available in the U.S. and Canada at this point in time. I know we do have a few people in the U.K. and in Australia watching. So currently that is only available in the U.S. and was just released in Canada
not long
ago.
Yeah.
So, okay, Mike, is there anything else that you would like to add, or do you want to open up to some questions from the audience?
We'll entertain some questions at this point if you'd like to do that.
All right. I'm going to give everyone some time to put in the questions. If you have a question, go ahead and submit it, and we will answer those. In the meantime, let's talk about this grand prize giveaway that we have while those come in.
Sure.
Of course, you're watching it live today, and we do this grand prize giveaway where 3 people are going to have the opportunity to win. You have all weekend long to do this, and the contest will end at 11:59 Monday night. So Tuesday, the contest ends, and we will go live and announce it. And the key word for this contest is going to be balanced nutrition. A little bit longer than our usual keywords.
Okay.
But just to show the importance, balanced nutrition. You can visit lifedata.live/win to do that. You'll put in your name, your email address, you'll enter in the contest. You can pop in the keyword. Now it's going to double your entries, and there's several different opportunities you have to get more entries. So you can just do one, you can do them all. The best one, in my opinion, is the sharing with a friend. If you share it with a friend and then they enter the contest, then it's going to increase your chances to win. And you can just keep sharing all you want. And so then you can go through that. Again, you have until Tuesday. So even if you're not watching it live, and you're watching it Saturday or Sunday, you can still enter in this contest. So let's talk about what we're going to give away.
And that's going to be, is it going to be the DS plus joint?
We're going to give away a Ferris Formula double strength.
Okay.
With a finish and the clay.
Okay.
So like we've talked about, even if you're doing everything you can nutritionally, but doing nothing environmentally, you still may have hoof problems.
That's right.
You have to combat all the different factors. So we're going to do the Farrier's Formula Double Strength, which is a 60-day supply, plus the finish in the clay, which is what we recommend to help hoof quality. If you're having hoof cracks, thrush, white line disease, soft hoofs, whatever it may be, these 3 products together is what our recommendation is going to be.
Or if you're having a bacterial issues such as thrush, white line, seedy toe, the liquid and the clay is going to help you tremendously there.
Yep.
Sure is.
The liquid and the clay are both antimicrobials. They are non-caustic. They're not going to burn you. They're not going to burn your horse. They're not going to harm any of the tissue. You can put it all over the hoof, and that's going to protect the hoof from those environmental standpoints. And then the Farrier's Formula is going to help grow out that hoof because the hoof is not going to heal from any of the damage. It has to be grown out. And so those 3 products there combined is what we recommend. And then we're also going to do...
So we're going to do 2 of those.
We're going to do
2 of
the joint. So we're going to give 2 people the double strength with the finish in clay, and we're going to give 1 person the double strength plus joint in the finish in the clay. So a total of 3 winners, which will be announced Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So join us then to see if you won.
Sure.
And again, let's pop up that keyword one more time, Will.
Balanced.
Again, balanced nutrition. Lifedata.live/win. And no, the grand prize is only for the U.S. Any of our giveaways that we do, unfortunately, we can only do it in the United States. There's different international giveaway laws that just prevent us from including everyone, unfortunately. All right, let's see. All right, so we got some questions here. Let me go back up here. One of my horses also has severe cracking on the middle front of his left hoof. Farrier wants to use 2-part epoxy to put in the crack instead. I'm worried that would cause internal bacteria to cause an abscess. Is the epoxy a bad thing?
Where you have a compromised foot like that, or especially if you have a foot that has lost part of the hoof wall, sometimes a farrier will have to do that and to fill in that. And so what I would suggest to you, number 1, if the horse is not on a hoof supplement, do that. That's going to help grow the problem out over a period of time. And then as it grows that foot out, it's really going to thicken and strengthen the hoof wall. And hopefully that's going to alleviate your problem as well.
Absolutely. Okay. I see some people saying they're having problems with the contest. If you'll, after this presentation is over, give it about, if you're having problems with it, I'll take a look at it when we get done here and let you redo it. I just pulled it up and it looks like it's fine. Well, Will pulled it up for me. It looks like if you go to that lifedata.live/win, it should be up. It is still active. It says we have there's 3 days left. Okay, let's see. All right. Again, if you have a question, feel free to drop them in here. I have a group of native ponies that are fed a Himalayan salt block. We have a deficiency of selenium, zinc, and copper with an excess of iron and manganese. The ponies get some white line issues and also occasionally abscess. They grass a large acreage in a stream of water. How do I supplement these ponies easily as they do not come into a stable regularly?
Well, that's kind of a tough situation where you cannot do that on a daily basis. In fact, that's one of the things when it comes to nutrition. It needs to be done on a daily basis or whatever. If you can do that on a daily basis, Farrier's Formula would be an excellent choice for those horses.
And then that's a good point, especially when you are feeding these horses and doing this from a nutritional standpoint. It's not going to be overnight.
No.
It has to be done daily. It has to be consistently. And it takes the hoof to entirely grow out takes anywhere from 9 months to a year.
Sure, and that's even with a hoof supplement such as Ferrous Formula. It's going to take that long, you know. That's just the bottom line.
You know, we do get, you know, a lot of people who you know, will talk to us and they're changing hoof supplements every month. And you know, it takes longer than that. You know, they're using a topical for a week, and it doesn't solve anything. A lot the hoof, like I said, it takes time to grow out, takes time to heal. So make sure you're being consistent in what you're doing.
Once again, keep in mind your problems have to be grown out by the horse.
Yes. I have a 21-year-old mare with awful hoofs, separation, and white line. I just started her on Ferrous Formula Double Strength and have been treating white line with the Ferrous Finish. I also just got a container of the hoof clay. What would your recommendation for rotating and or treating the white line over time?
I would focus on using the clay where you have wall separation. I'm assuming that the horse is barefoot, number one, and where that horse is barefoot, you should be able to pick up the foot and with maybe some type of small dental tool, clean out that void or that separation there, get it completely cleaned out, and then pack that void with the clay itself. And do that about every 3 to 4 days. And then since you have the finish after you have packed the clay into the void there, go ahead and apply the finish to the entire hoof capsule. Everything as far as the sole itself and then the entire hoof wall.
Absolutely.
So that will help protect the entire hoof capsule. And what you're doing is you're getting the clay and the active ingredients where it needs to be, and the clay is going to hold that in place to help fight. Now, that void, the only way to eliminate that void is through the incorporation of the Ferrous Formula, and that's going to help grow that void out then over a period of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was reading comments, so I'm not sure if you already mentioned this, but that clay and finish can be used together.
Yes.
She mentioned a rotation. You know, you can actually put the clay on first, and then the Ferrous Finish.
That's correct.
They're tame enough to where it's not going to do any damage to the hoof or anything. A question on where to buy the Ferrous Formula Double Strength with Joint. Again, that is in the U.S. only right now, but we've got some online vendors who have it. We have, of course, our website where we have it. You know, you can go visit our website under our dealers to look. You can do a quick Google search of just the Ferrous Formula Double Strength plus Joint. And I know we have several people who carry the product.
And if you'd like to talk to someone live, pick up the phone, talk to one of the ladies in customer service. Give them your zip code, and they will point you to your closest dealer.
Absolutely, and that's a good point. You know, we've got a great customer service staff here. Of course, we've got Dr. Scott Gravely here as well, and Mike. And if you have a question finding product, or you want to make sure again you're not over supplementing or under supplementing, call us. Pick up the phone, call us, contact us on our website, email us at that cservice@lifedatalabs.com. And we'll be happy to help you. My mare has been having issues with white line disease lately. I'm treating her feet under my farrier direction. She eats 1 pound Timothy pellets, 1 pound Tribute Wholesome Blends Ration Balancer, Homemade California, a few other things. She's also on overgrazed pasture 24/7. Would you recommend a diet change? I'm going to switch her to the Ferrous Formula Double Strength. Anything else I should do diet-wise?
Why don't you contact us directly and come up with a complete list of everything you're feeding your mare. We'll take a look at that, and we'll offer you suggestions, especially if you're overdoing it with supplementation. I think that would be the best bet, Corbin.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, especially with that white line disease, if you're not doing anything topically for that hoof, that hoof clay and the Ferrous Finish are great products to use. And then again, if you are using a topical, make sure you look at that label and make sure that it is non-caustic.
Right.
Usually you can tell if it's got a warning label on there saying not to get it on your skin or your clothes or something along those lines, then you don't want to use that product on your horse. That's that was always Dr. Gravely's big statement around here was if you can't put it on your own skin, don't put it on your horse.
Sure.
All right, can I email hoof pictures first time horse owner? Yes, please.
Yes, you can.
Well,
Please.
in fact, if you do contact us with a problem and asking for help, a lot of times we ask for pictures. So having pictures
It's very
is
helpful.
definitely
yes.
helpful.
Mm-hmm.
If I feed farriers formula, do I have to just feed white salt because I feed the green salt now that has selenium in it and their feet are pretty good now?
I'm assuming that you're in an area that is selenium deficient. If you're incorporating selenium, if the selenium is in your salt, I might have some reservation about that, in that depending on how much salt your horse consumes on a daily basis is also going to determine how much selenium the horse is consuming as well. So we may want to take a look at that. That may be something that you want to follow back up with us as well.
All right, let me check through here, make sure we didn't have, again, we're taking a few questions, so if you have a question, drop one into the comments. I want to make sure we covered all of these. They're hopeful that we cover the frog.
Okay.
What can we do to promote frog health?
To promote frog health, okay. Of course, the enemy of the frog is bacteria, number one, okay? So we want to pick up the foot on a daily basis. We want to clean out the foot, especially on either side of the frog. If we have that smelly odor or whatever, let's use an antimicrobial such as the clay or the finish to address that as well. Exercise is extremely important in helping to grow the foot of the horse as well, especially the frog itself. So those are some other things that we can do as well. Of course, Hoof supplement farriers formula is going to help with that as well in the process. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Is having free-form white salt and also a free-form mineral powder better than a salt or mineral block?
What we recommend here at Life Data Labs, if you think about a salt block is primarily intended for cattle use, a white salt block. It makes it very difficult for the horse to consume enough salt, number one, from a salt block. We also have some horses that love salt and they will overconsume on a salt block. So the daily recommended amount is about 2 level tablespoons per day for a 1,000-pound horse. And what we recommend is just plain white loose salt. And you can do that free choice as well. You'll just need some type of a container to put that into in a area that's protected from the weather. And that's the easiest way for a horse to consume salt itself.
Absolutely.
Just plain white loose salt.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let me, I almost forgot about this, but our next live event is scheduled. And so if you would like to attend our next live event, it is going to be in October. And I know a lot of us right now are probably not even thinking about winter, but we're going to talk about winter.
That's right.
What are some key factors to equine winter care? Of course, like I said, we're going to be doing this in October. We know some different parts of the U.S. and in Europe and so on. It gets a little bit colder sooner than other areas, but winter care starts earlier.
It does.
You don't want to start the care when it's 5 feet of snow.
That's right. In other words, we have to prepare in advance.
Absolutely. So that's going to be October 21st, which is a Friday. Again, it's going to be the same time, 2 o'clock Central Time here if you're in the U.S. You can visit lifedata.live/FB event to register for that, or you just go to our Facebook page. Again, that will stream on Facebook and on YouTube. So again, key factors for equine winter care will be our next live event. And of course, we're winding down the year. We're going to have that one, and then we're going to have one in December. We'll be taking November off, and then we'll have one right at the beginning of December, before Christmas. So, a lot more topics to talk about. And then if you guys have any other questions, you can feel free to email us at cservice@lifedatalabs.com. All of these live events, past and future, are recorded. So please feel free to visit our YouTube, or you can go to the videos tab under our Facebook account. You can find all those recordings. We've talked about joint care, thrush, laminitis, Cushing's, anhidrosis, insulin resistance,
abscesses.
Our last one was on abscesses. We had a huge turnout for that one. So all of that information is available for you to look at. This, again, right here is available to rewatch. When we end here, you'll be able to find it right up on our Facebook and right on our YouTube. So you can feel free to watch it again, take notes, and do whatever you'd like to do. Again, please share and share it with your other horse friends, and it's good information. You know, we're here at Life Data. Our number one concern is the health of the horse. And so we want to help as many as we can. So if you have questions, contact us, and we'll be happy to answer you. We also have a great blog as well that you can visit with a lot of different nutritional articles. But I hope everyone has a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. Don't forget to join us Tuesday when we announce the winner of the contest.
Sure. And we certainly thank you for joining us today. And if there's anything that we can help you in any way concerning your horse, well, please feel free to contact us.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.